Okay, so I'm doing a little quickie recording right now because I have to, I'm about to go look at a house, but I have a little second to give an update because I don't have time to live stream right now, but previously I was doing some work earlier today. I was implementing the put coordinate pixel and fixing some problems with some calculations. One thing I noticed is that the way it puts so the image size was getting calculated improperly because it wasn't including, it was including padding even when it wasn't supposed to. And that's just because of a simple issue with the order of the operands in when I was determining how much padding there needs to be. So that's resolved now. So what I did was I made a tiny BMP, which is this guy, and I also made a big BMP, and that's just this red square, right? The way I did that was, so in here there's a loop, right? And all it's doing is calling the put pixel coordinate function. And so since I know the dimensions and where I want to write it, that works, right? So that's it as far as, so basically drawing a line is really just going to go ahead and duplicate this, but I think it's better to actually put the ability to draw a line. And I'm going to make the line stop if it's out of bounds. I'm going to enforce that inside of it. Now, so another thing that I did was I changed the return types of some things and a couple of logics. So if, for example, I think there's a variable called overage, yeah. So this is part of how I fixed the thing. So previously it was like 4 minus this or whatever, but it doesn't check if it's 0. So 4 minus 0 is still 4, which meant that there was still going to be too much. There was still going to be padding when there was supposed to be padding. So that was an issue there. I was noticing I was writing only red pixels, but I was still getting something else. That's because of like writing to the padding bytes problem, right? So that's fixed. And one thing I also did was yeah. So now also I changed the function's return type. So now it returns a pointer to the next pixel, right? Previously it would have returned an offset, but I figured that's not, well, this is basically an offset, right? But I just wanted to be a little bit more concise like that. And also I realized that this function might not be necessary. It would just be a little bit faster to avoid using a scanline. So actually here instead I determined the scanline pointer can always be got. So this is where all the pixels begin, right? And this is the width in bytes with padding. So every multiple of this is the start of a new scanline. So, and again, I'm counting scanlines from 0. So if scanline 0 is what you requested, then you would just get, this would evaluate to 0, because 0 times anything is 0. And so you would just get to the beginning of the pixel data, which is where the first scanline would begin. However, if this was 1, then it would just be this value, which means it would skip an entire scan line in bytes, and that would be your pointer, right? Which would be just the subsequent scan line. So it's really not necessary to have this function. I'm just probably not going to call this function at all. And yeah, so those are the changes. So of course I implemented this function without showing anybody because I wasn't streaming. But the idea basically is that we just get the offset and then we place the blue and then the green and then the red value. That's how BMP works. One moment. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I had to address something. Alright, so as I was saying, yeah, so basically we're doing is we're getting a pointer to the scan line, which is just, it's still in the pixel data buffer, which is, you know, it's a pointer to a bunch of unsigned 8-bit integers, right? And we determine the column offset, right? Because when you provide the column in this function, it's like in terms of like pixels, right? But of course this is in terms of bytes on the actual implementation. So we have to multiply by 3 for 24-bit BMP, right? And then so the column offset is where we put the first byte for the blue value. Then we put the green value 1 byte after that, and then 2 bytes after that we put the red value, because again BMP uses BGR order instead of RGB for the pixels, right? So once that's done, of course, we're interested in giving a pointer to the next pixel, right? And what this does is potentially this is at a padding boundary, right? And so if this is at a padding boundary, then this shouldn't be like, here's the next where the next pixel begins, because you shouldn't be writing anything there. It will literally break the image, right? It's not trivial that the padding bytes are 0. They must be 0. So then we have a check, and so if this memory address ends up being where I can determine that there should be padding, which would be the scanline pointer plus what do you call it? Yeah, the width in bytes without padding. So if it's equal to that, then we've fallen in that range. Now it could also fall in that range. No, yeah, the only way it can fall in that range is if well, I guess a value greater than that as well would be the next scan line, but it shouldn't bring you to the next scan line anyway. If there's padding, it should bring you there. If there's no padding, it should just take you to the next scan line, and that's okay, right? But I guess let's see. Otherwise, then it returns no, right? Yeah, so then it will give you the next scan line, and if that's null, then that's a problem. I don't think there's anything wrong here, but we'll investigate this later. I'll keep a note of that in my mind. But yeah, so then it gives you a pointer to where the next pixel begins. So now with that done, now that we know the logic of how to place down a pixel, we know how to draw a line, and this fundamentally should have the same thing. Now, I know there's one problem here. This is meant to handle drawing vertical lines and horizontal lines, which is why there's this enumeration variable, right? But vertical lines and horizontal lines are not the same in that they also have, so you need to know, so the column is like, needs to have start and stop. Yeah, so that's a problem. Oh, one sec. Sorry, I'm back again. There's people who are having like small talk. I arrived here early. We're waiting for the realtor, but I'm just doing this because I got here so early. So, all right, then let's see. So, I don't know what this guy is doing. What is that? Oh, is that the realtor? Well, if that's the realtor, then I guess I'll have to stop recording. But yeah, so that's just an update, I guess. If it's just an update, that's fine. I kind of got to everything I wanted to discuss as far as this goes. So in a subsequent live stream or recording, then we're going to address drawing a line, right? All right, so thank you for watching, and yeah.